So, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the broadcast. This is a special live stream series hosted by Seek God Slay Goals called the Kingdom Business Breakthrough live stream series, and I am very excited about it. If you guys are new here, I am Felicia. I'm the founder of Seek God Slay Goals, and we are a Christian lifestyle brand that helps the millennial woman to enhance her spiritual, economic, emotional, and her physical health. And so today and actually tomorrow night, we'll be doing this live stream series, one in honor of National Black Business Month. I don't know if you guys knew that August was National Black Business Month. And so we're celebrating that, but we're also just having this conversation about kingdom business as a means to boost our economic health. And so I am excited about our guests that we have on today. We have with us today Rachael Hanible, and we also have with us today Mazda Miles, and they're going to come on in a second and introduce themselves, and we'll get into this conversation. But we're really going to be talking about starting and growing an impactful and profitable kingdom business. Okay. Impactful and profitable. And so make sure you guys are just following us here on Facebook and on Instagram at Seek God Slay Goals, and share this broadcast out as well. We also have a podcast called the Seek God Slay Goals podcast, so make sure you are tuning in and listening to our podcast. We'll have new episodes starting in September, so I'm excited about that. So without further ado, everyone, welcome our guests. We have Rachael Hanible and also Mazda Miles. Hi, ladies. How you doing?
Great. Glad to be here.
Yes, I'm excited for you all to be here. So, y'all are doing a thing in business. And so I don't want to introduce you all. I want you to introduce yourselves. Just tell us who you are, where you're from, and really what you do in business. So let's start with Rachael, and then we'll go to Mazda.
Hey, thank you again, Felicia, for having me. I am Rachael Hannibal. I am the founder of Missing Peace Financial Group, where I teach financial education for kids starting at age 3 all the way up to adults to age 100. I became completely debt free. I also saved up a year's worth of my income in cash, and I have a credit score of 840 now. And so I've been spending my time helping people in the last almost 6 years now reach whatever their financial dreams and goals are, helping them, encouraging them on their path towards financial freedom. I am also the author of Amber's Magical Savings Box, which is an interactive children's book that teaches kids about earning and saving money. It is an Amazon bestseller. And so I have been traveling as well with the book, making sure that our next generation of millionaires have a head start on their road to financial freedom.
Yes, awesome. And I'm glad she said all of that. I told them, I said, make sure you brag on yourself and brag on your business. And if they didn't do it, I was going to do it. So I'm glad you did it. So Mazda, introduce yourself to the people.
All right, wonderful. Well, I'm really glad to be here with you two amazing business women. I'm Mazda Miles. I am the founder and owner, chief event strategist of Perfection Events, which is a events production company that works with corporations, associations, nonprofits, and the federal government to produce events worldwide. We have been in business for a little over 10 years. We're supposed to be celebrating our 10th year anniversary. However, COVID. But we are here and we are still celebrating. I have been able to grow that business to a 7-figure business over the 10 years. That is an amazing goal. I learned a stat one time that less than 3% of companies ever make it there, and it's even less for Black-owned businesses. And so I just want to be an inspiration in being able to, as we're talking about, create a profitable business. And so in addition to being that to Perfection Events, I am also a professional fire starter, which is a woman that lights a fire every time she walks into a room and, of course, slays all of her goals. I am a mentor, and I have a mentoring program called the FireStarter Mentoring Program. And so I mentor women in business and how to make their companies profitable, how to make that money, how to start, how to grow, and how to sustain and scale their businesses. And also a podcast host, Restrooms and Boardrooms. You can find that anywhere that you find all the podcasts that you love to listen to, where I am spitting the game and telling everyone all the things that no one ever told me. And I wish someone told me, because I could have gone further, faster, and even bigger in a shorter amount of time if I had it. So that's me, Mazda Miles.
Listen, come on, FireStarter. Then got me hyped up already. So I'm excited. So first, let's just start. And thank you to everybody that's tuning in. I see your comments. Thank you for sharing and liking. So why did you start your business? You come from different paths. What was the reason that you started your business? People start for different reasons. They might need money, or it might be a fad, especially with everything that's happening with this online space right now. But for you specifically, why did you start your business?
I think it really bothered me younger growing up, and there wasn't classes in our school teaching us about finances. Like, I'm like, this stuff is important. Why didn't we learn this in 5th grade or 6th grade or 7th grade? And so I was like, we gotta, what can I do about this to kind of, be that change that I want to see? And so I was just, consistent with making sure that this information get out to something as simple as budgeting, those small tools, things like that we weren't taught. And I realized that was a lot of the issues that was going on around me, even growing up, was just simple money management, like tools and resources that we just didn't have. Like no one taught us these things. And so I just started on a mission to say, I'm just going to give out all the information that I have to be able to help as many people as possible find that peace, which is why I named my company Missing Peace, PEACE. I feel like a lot of us have this goal of peace, and it's so far away. It's like, oh, when my kid graduates college, or when I retire, or when I whatever. And it's like, it's so far away. And for some people, they feel like that day will never come. And so it is my mission to just kind of help my people find the little nuggets of peace on the road to financial freedom, just to sleep better at night, every night, bit by bit by and just understand that small things go a long way. And so that is why I started my business. And so far, I've been in over 30 schools in our area, being able to, again, be that change.
Love that. What about you, Mazda?
Yeah, so I started my business out of necessity. I had an idea years before I started it that I knew what I wanted to do. I worked inside of corporations, and I kind of got thrown into events and meetings. When you do administrative work, you're the person that plans the meetings. You're the person that they're like, oh, plan this regional meeting, this sales meeting, this whatever. While all of my colleagues really hated planning meetings and events, I actually loved it. Most admins are like, oh my God, if I have to plan another meeting, I hate this. And I loved it. And at the time I was working for Aramark, and it was they had a meetings and events department, and people stopped actually going to the meetings and events department and coming to me. All the admins were coming to me. Then I started like teaching classes, being like, here's how you negotiate a hotel contract. I just fell in love with it. And so it was actually 7 years before I actually got to open Perfection Events that I had the idea. I had different executives that would come up to me after every meeting or event and be like, this was perfect. This was perfect. And so one day I remember sitting down and telling my best friend, I'm going to start a company one day called Perfection Events. So 7 years later, I continued to grow in my career. I continued to make moves, deciding about what next step I wanted to take and what next position I would take that would give me more knowledge and information and experience. Because it's one thing to believe you can do a thing, and it's another thing to do the thing. Right. And so I wanted to do the thing. And so along the way, and then I got to this, great, job. I was the director of events for a division of Merck. And then they went through layoffs. And they were like, you can move to Massachusetts if you want, because we're consolidating our operations. And I was like, I don't want to move to Massachusetts. And so I went into my office, and I remember closing my door and saying, that's fine. I'll just get another job. I can basically, kind of be like, I'll always find another job. And just like that, I heard the Lord say, now it's time for Perfection Events. And I had forgotten. Let me tell you, this job was so sweet. I had forgotten about Perfection Events. And when I heard that in my spirit, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, Perfection Events. And so I started Perfection Events in 2010 in the middle of our last horrible recession. Everybody thought I was crazy, but I was like, if I can make it when nobody's buying, I'll make it when everybody's buying. So that's why I started.
That's so good. And one of the things you said you said you were going to do it, but it didn't really happen until 7 years later. And so that's just to say, you might have the idea, or you might want to do something in a particular time, but it might not be the right time for you to do it right then and there. So for people who might be considering starting a business, or they want to start a business, from your experience, what should they be thinking about or considering before they actually do start that business?
I think you should think about what problem are you solving. You definitely want to solve a problem. People are going to pay you to solve their problems. Like, what pain points are you getting rid of for me? You know what I mean? How much time are you going to save me? Why is your way of doing it different? Not even, it doesn't even have to be better, but just different from
Mhm.
all those who are in the same area or in the same line of work. Just make sure that it's not just like, oh, I'm just going to do this because I'm cool. It's cool the thing, everybody's doing it right now. No, make sure that you've done research on, like, and make sure it's something that you're passionate about, because ultimately you really want to be in business to do something that you would do for free.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because that's when you're going to give it your all. When you're so passionate about it that you love it so much that you would do it for free if you had to. And that will show through your work. That will show how you follow through to the end. So I think those are the things that you really need to consider when you're starting to lay the foundation of your business.
I would 100% agree with absolutely everything that she said. She said all the things that I tell people all the time, and that I sometimes get to mentor people around, because sometimes I'm like, you're not answering a need, you're not answering a problem. So those are all wonderful pieces of the pie. Another thing I often think is that when you're preparing, you're starting, what skin in the game are you willing to put into it? Entrepreneurship is not for the faint at heart. And so if your mindset is, I'm going to come into this and I'm going to make all this money right away and it's going to be easy, and you have to make sure that your mind and your spirit is ready for this journey. I think that sometimes we're kind of thrown into it, and I'm grateful for being laid off and being somewhat thrown into it, because I was in a position where I was like, this has to work. It has to work. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to have to go back to work for someone else, right? I think that people have to have the mental fortitude and be ready, in the perspective of, if you're ready to go out on your own, like thinking about what skin in the game and am I willing to put, and what kind of fortitude and passion and perseverance, like Rachel was saying, am I willing to put behind this? Because everything's not going to fall in your lap. But your consistent action over time and what you do will eventually, right, you will be able to reap what you sowed and what you've worked on in this business.
Ooh, that's so good. Y'all both said a lot. So I wanted to touch on, well, Rachel, you were mentioning how, you need to be passionate, and it'll show through your work. And, a lot of times people say to me, you're always working, you're always working. But for me, it doesn't feel like work, because I love what I do. It's like I enjoy doing this. So I think that's very important when it comes to business. I think sometimes we get sucked into doing things that we feel like we have to do, and then we just don't even enjoy the business that we started in the first place. So I think that passionate piece is very important. And then going to Mazda, what you said about being mentally and spiritually ready, like that's something we don't really talk about a lot when it comes to business. And I know for me, so I quit my job because I was just, it wasn't a bad job. It was easy, but I couldn't do it anymore. Right. And so I didn't have a plan, but I'm not the person that tells people to go quit their jobs. Like, I'm not ever telling anybody to quit your job. But for me, that's just what I did at the time. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And it was totally different than what I thought it was going to be, because I had this perception based on what, the internet shows us, what social media shows us, that it's like, oh, I could just come up with a plan real quick and it'll work and boom, we'll be on our way. But it was not like that at all. And for a while, like the first year, it was all mental. Like, I had to get my mind right. Like, I had to get prayed up some more. It was real. And I don't think we just don't talk about that a lot. So for you all, did you experience that as well in starting your businesses? Had like that whole mindset piece? Can we just talk about that a little bit? Kind of what has been your experience with that?
Yeah. Like, mindset on both ends. Like, I think, especially because of what my area of financial literacy, um I think that I thought it would be easy for people to, I didn't think I had to work so hard to convince people that it was important to have the knowledge and the tips and the tools and all these things. I'm like, people are fighting me tooth and nail to give them information that they need. And I think, I was like, I wasn't expecting this at all, to have to really sit and convince you that managing your finances is important. And so I think that really threw me off in the beginning. Like, for a long time, we talked about wanting to do something for free. I had done it for free for so long, and I had to cancel so many free financial events in the beginning because people did not think this was a great idea to come get information about how to budget and getting out of debt and credit and all those things. And so that really messed me up, having to cancel all those events, or having so many people say no in the beginning. I'm like, what do you mean no? What do you mean no? And so, yeah, I had to kind of go back to the beginning, go back to why I'm doing this, go back to the fact that when you're being the change, you have to change things. Like, things are not going to change. So these people are used to having this mindset. They're used to not having these tools and these tips and this information. They think they're going great without it. And so, hitting those pain points, solving those problems, like we talked about earlier, all that, I was like, I got to go back to the drawing board of how I. So yeah, that was tough for me in the beginning, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know for me in the beginning, much like what Rachel talked about, she was trying to give like free things. For me, I never considered that I would have to sell. That was a huge mindset shift for me. I was like, I'm an excellent meeting and event planner. Like, nobody can beat me at this. Like, I knew it. I knew that I had a different approach. I knew that me coming from the corporate environment was very different than my competitors, right? I say competitors because I'm like, nobody can beat me being me. Like, so what competition, right? But I'm like, competitors, right? I knew I had a different approach. I knew all of that, but to your point, this convincing people to hire me, I'm like, do you see what I will do for you? Why are we going through this? And so that was a shift for me, was me really having to realize that was going to be a process. I had to remove the notion that we hear so often, if you build it, they'll come. No, if you build it and market it and sell it and then
Yes.
right? So that was a huge mindset shift for me, and probably the largest one I had to do early on. And then the second was probably investing in whatever I needed to grow the business. We've heard takes money to make money, but it's hard when you only have a little money and you need the money. You need to make money. So when you have this much money and it's like, oh, you have to invest it so that you can do that. That takes a little bit of gumption to be like, okay, so I'm about to give y'all this $2,000. But I need that though. And so that was a mindset shift for myself as well.
Yeah, ooh, that's so real. And even so, this is a great segue to kind of the next thing I wanted to talk about, this whole investing piece. I did a post a couple of weeks ago about how, just from my observations, I have seen that some Christians, they struggle with investing the time and the money that's necessary for them to get to where they say they want to be in their business, right? Because I think, sometimes we over spiritualize it, or we're waiting for God to move, or, answer the prayer, or a miracle,
Yep.
So can we talk about the importance of investing? Yes, we pray, but after we pray, we got to do some work, right? And that's time and money. So can we talk about, even if you want to share some of the investments that you've had to make in your business to see growth?
Yeah, I'm really passionate about this particular subject. I think that very often it is over spiritualized, right? My mom used to say all the time when I was younger, and now I just get it. She's too heavenly minded to be any earthly good. When I was little, I would be like, what is she talking about? But now I realize that you can be up in the clouds, but you have to live down here, right? And so even the Bible talks about it. Faith without works is dead. So you can have all the faith you want all day long, but until you put your hand to the plow, it does not matter. one of the large investments I actually made early in my business was I spent $10,000. It was all of my savings for sales training because I did not know how to sell. And the kind of ticket item that I'm selling, the things that I sell are not $2 or $3, right? I don't get out of bed for less than, I think it's kind of haughty to say, but point is, our services start at $15,000. There's not a contract less than that. So if I don't know how to sell that to someone, I never was going to get it off of the ground. And I remember when I found the program, I knew in my heart, I did all my research. I was like, I need to invest in this program. It's going to take me, it's hands-on. It's going to be a certain amount of time. And everybody was like, you are crazy. Even my dad was like, can't you Google it? And I was like, no, Daddy, I can't. I just know that I need this. And I parlayed that into $90,000 worth of business within 6 months. So clearly I made the right decision, but it was a hard decision to make.
Yeah. What about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I mean, there are like those big, leap of faith, those investments that we make there. But for me, it's also about like the things you do every day. I know every single day I'm researching what's going on currently with our economy. Like I'm listening to all the boring podcasts that people tired of listening to. I am reading all the books. I'm going through these articles, making sure I'm up to date with all the laws and things that are passed behind, closed doors that doesn't get, the headlines. Every single day I am researching something that has something to do with teaching kids about financial literacy, financial education, making sure that the information that I'm giving out is accurate, making sure I'm up to date on everything every day. There's literally not a single day that goes by that I'm not getting that information. I'm not being a student. I'm not sitting, listening, paying for, like I said, a new book or paying for a new conference or whatever it may be. But being consistent with that, because it's easy when people become gurus. They're like, I know everybody should be coming to me for information. They kind of just put everything down, put all the books down, stop going to the conferences, and they do their own conferences, right? But no, I'm constantly learning, and constantly taking the time out to be intentional about my time and the energy that what I'm taking in into my diet. And that's everything. What you're listening to, what you're receiving, what you're reading, all those things. And so yeah, even the big investments that Miles spoke about, yes, but the small things are important as well.
Yeah, and I think that's important talking about the investments. Like you can't expect a return greater than what you've invested, right?
Right.
So that's monetarily or with your time. You know what I mean? So we have these great, and it just really bothers me. We have these great big, oh, I'm going to have a 6-figure business. Oh, I'm going to be a millionaire. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But then when you look at, okay, how are you really spending your time? What financial investments have you made into your business? Like there's a disconnect. And so if you take anything away from this, know that there's going to be an investment required of you to get the return that you're expecting, right? Absolutely. And you talked about this intentionality. We have to be so intentional with our time as business owners. So I want to touch on this a little bit. This wasn't one of the questions, but with your time, how has that kind of changed from before you were a business owner to now that you are a business owner? How have you had to kind of change your actions, what you do, how you spend your time, those types of things?
Go ahead, I'm gonna let you go.
All right. So from a time perspective, this is one of my things too. Everyone who's close to me knows that I'm big about time, how I spend my time, how you spend my time, how I allow you to spend my time, and that you do not waste my time. People often say that time is money, and I say that is inaccurate. Time is not money. I can always make more money. I can never make more time. So time is actually more valuable to me in my life than money, because once it's gone, right? I can't make any more of it. So in terms of how it's affecting my time, I've gotten really, really focused and intentional, as Rachel said, about how I manage my time. If it's not on my calendar, basically doesn't exist. And I don't, people don't like that. I've had some like family members who are like, you have to put me in your calendar. So I don't say it to them anymore, but I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, because I'm like, yeah, if I'm supposed to call you at 7, I'm putting in my calendar. If I'm supposed to go out with you, I'm putting in my calendar. Like, and I don't play this, like, I'll call you really casual conversation. Sure. If I'm hanging around on a Saturday, call me anytime. But this whole, like, I need 15 minutes of your time and I'm going to call you at some point. No. We're going to decide what that time is, because you're going to be upset with me when I can't answer you because I have scheduled something else during that time. And so I'm really intentional about time from that perspective. The other thing about time that I will say also as a business owner, it is very easy to overwhelm yourself doing way too much with time and assuming that, 24 hours in a day, I can work all 24 and then sleep tomorrow. That is not okay. Just like Rachel talked about, what you put in your body and what you consume, how you treat yourself is also so important. In fact, my bishop is actually preaching. He's been on like 3 weeks of Sabbath, like teaching on learning how to be intentional about rest. And I'm like, you better preach, because people have lost that, and some had never had that concept. And so I'm also intentional around that, meaning my email can only be delivered to me at certain times during the day. I actually have a program. I use Boomerang for that. It doesn't even come into my inbox and alert me outside of those times. Certain alerts are off. When I say I'm done at 4:30, I'm done at 4:30. That doesn't mean that there aren't times that I choose to go beyond that. But because that structure is in place to ensure that I balance myself and I care for myself and my time in a way that's intentional, it is much less likely that it gets abused. See, when you're just like, oh, it's willy-nilly, I'm available anytime, then you really are available anytime, and it's easy to get overwhelmed and abused. But when you're like, no, I'm available between 9 and 4:30, and you'll get a response within 24 business hours, that changes things. So that's my thing on time.
That's so good.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's slightly a little bit different because I actually still work my 9 to 5. And a lot of people are surprised by that. I talked to someone earlier today and it was like, somebody told me you still work. I'm like, yeah, I've been at my job for 13 years now. Well, November will make 13 years. I'm like, yeah. So, I'm running my business, single-handedly running my business after my work hours. So, yeah,
Right.
for me, it's like I always want to give my best to anything that I do. And I'm never going to be, slighting my day job because I'm working my business. Most of my coworkers are surprised to know that I'm running a successful business outside of my day job, and vice versa. Most of my clients are surprised to find out that I actually get up and go to work every day. But that's how it's supposed to be. No one is supposed to feel like they're robbed, or no one is supposed to feel like they're shorted. And the way that I'm able to do that is, yes, hour by hour. Like Mazda said, if it's not on my little notebook, I don't know what to tell you. Because sis and bro, it's just, I just don't know what to tell you. I got a lot going on over here, okay? All these books that get shipped out, I'm doing them myself. I'm signing them myself. I'm literally doing all of this. For the most part, I do it on my own. And so, yeah, I don't play. People who know me know 10 o'clock is my bedtime. Because I gotta be up at 5:30. Because that's prayer. That's God's time. That's Bible reading and all of that, which goes into, like you said, the rest and making sure that you are taking care of yourself. Um, so yeah, I had to make sure that it's weird because when I have downtime, I still kind of feel weird. Like I feel like I need to be doing something. But yeah, having those boundaries, using that do not disturb button is
Come on
now
here.
my favorite button on my phone now.
Yes.
So yeah, it's really important. And when people ask me how I'm able to do it, I'm like, I don't watch TV. There's so many things that people waste time on that I don't do. And when you realize, once you start cutting down certain things, I'm not on the phone like gossiping. Hey girl, guess what happened yesterday? I'm not that person. Once you start cutting down on all those things, you realize just how much time you have and how much you can do with it when you're intentional about being productive and not just busy. And so you need to know the difference between those two. A lot of people are busy but not productive. So yeah, it's important. Time management is everything.
you wanted to add anything else, Master?
No, I'm just co-signing. I'm preaching the word over here.
Yes, y'all are over here preaching. I'm just nodding like, yep, yep, yep. So let's talk a little bit about kingdom business and our economy. So do you think that, kingdom business is necessary in our economy? And if so, how should it be represented?
I feel like kingdom business is necessary everywhere. But absolutely, but it needs to be represented in a way that speaks to the principles of God. Like the Bible is clear about how we should conduct ourselves, even in business, even in handling money, even in all those things, how we should use our gifts and talents, and all those things. The Bible is clear about how we are supposed to conduct ourselves, even as business owners. And so, absolutely, we need to represent ourselves in excellence, decency, and in order, follow through, do what you say you're supposed to do. And if something comes up, you need to make sure that you handle it in a professional way, because there are going to be things that are going to come up. There are going to be misunderstandings. There are going to be all those things. But the way you handle it, again, the scriptures are clear about how we should handle confrontations and misunderstandings, and all those things. So that's how we should be set aside from everyone else who's just, running the newest thing this year or newest thing this quarter or whatever, just making sure that the integrity is in every part of everything that we do.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think everything that you said around the principles is so spot on. I think that people should know that we are different, not because we hang Bible verses all around our office and because our email signature has a scripture in it and praise the Lord. I think they should be able to know because of how we show up in the world and how we conduct our business. And I think that we have a great responsibility, right? So as business owners, we tend to touch more people, see more people, like we're out there. And so that's a big thing, like I said earlier about, so heavenly minded, no earthly good. Like, no, it's not about, preaching. There's a time and space for that. But your life should preach. The way you conduct your business should preach. And I feel like that's what kingdom business is about and how we show up in the world. People should know there's something different about that business. Every time I work with that Rachael, every time I work with that Mazda, they want to refer us and say it's something about the way they operate. I think that's why it's so important for kingdom business to continue to grow and thrive, even especially at this time.
Yeah, totally agree with everything you guys said. So now, in your experience, what have been some of the things that you've seen that have prevented Christians, specifically Christian business owners, from having an impactful and a profitable business?
I'm gonna say simply, the believers don't believe.
Mm.
Because when you believe, like, sometimes I really wonder what Bible, like, some people are reading. I'm like, that's not the old mother of my old church used to say, my God don't work like that. So she stand up and give you a nod. My God don't work like that. She pull her glasses down. But it's like when you believe what you're saying in these songs and what you're reading in the scriptures, and the promises that God has for you and all those things, enlarge my territory and all the stuff that we cry about, it's like and if you really believe that, you would go for it 100%. You would go for it 100%. Like if you're faithful, full of faith, then you would be on your mind. It would bother you to go to bed and you haven't done something to show to God that you're grateful for this gift or this talent or this business or this opportunity or whatever. And so it makes me wonder, like, do you really believe that that God wants you to have all these promises that He has for you? I believe that a lot of God's people assume that God wants them to be poor, and that they're going to, not have anything, and then that's the fastest way to heaven and all those other things. And I'm like, no, that's not. don't think that's what it. I don't think that's God's plan for your life, sis. And so, I think it kind of really boils down to like, do we even really believe that it is for us, and that if we take that, one step, He'll take two. Again, all those things that we've said, we've heard our grandparents say, all those things that we've sung about, like, do we really believe that? And I think that that's what's holding us back. The moment I started to believe, everything changed for me.
I love it. I'm just going to piggyback off something that you said because it was what was in my mind around the believers not believing, and around the idea of poverty and plight being somehow noble in Christianity. And I think that holds us back a ton. Christian businesses back a ton. I think there's this mindset around how nice I'm supposed to be, how much free stuff I'm supposed to give, and then there's this like, well, so-and-so is cutthroat. And I'm like, no, they're a very good business person. They're not being cutthroat. What they know is their profit margins. They have actually done that work. And so they know that if they give that to you at that price, they know the numbers. So they know that they have to say no to this because they're losing money. You're thinking you're being nice and you're putting yourself in the red, right? And so I think that there's this mentality around that really can hold us back. I remember years ago, I studied the verse about, God wants us to have, we might have life and have it more abundantly, right? And so we always think of abundance in the sense of more. But in fact, the word in the Greek has to do with a circumspectly, right? And so it was like God wasn't saying, I want you to have this overflowing life. I want you to have this all around life, this well-rounded life. And so a lot of times as believers, we're like, we can't have it all. But God, in fact, said, I am come that you might have life and that you might have it all, right? And so I think that is part of the mindset shift that we talked about earlier, that needs to happen in Christian business owners, of understanding that it's not that I have to be poor and I don't have to show this, like I'm just making it. There's this wrong, incorrect humility thing that's out there too. Like, I'm just trying to make it. What did you say to me, Rachel? I said, how are you? You said, I am unstoppable. I said, well, doggone it. I asked Rachel, y'all, when she got on this live, I said, how are you? She said, I'm unstoppable. I said, my God, I'm stealing that. Because that's where we need to be with this, where we have this mindset. Like she said, if we really believed it, we would be in an entirely different place in our business.
Ooh, y'all on here preaching. Okay.
And those who know me, who are watching this, they know I say that every day. If you ask me how I'm doing, I say I'm unstoppable. I say that every day. I've been saying it for a long time, and I'm starting to charge people who steal it. So Mazda, look out,
Oh,
but
I'll give you credit. I will give you credit.
That's so good. That's so good. So, we've talked about the hindrances, but how can people really begin to be more impactful? Of course, we need to start believing. We need to have this mindset shift. But how can somebody who might be struggling, how can they start making some profit in their business or be more impactful? What, practical tips do you guys have to share with anybody?
So profitability is actually one of my pillars, right, in business. And it's a big part. It's actually the free gift that I give away. So if you all follow me on Instagram, it's on my name. If you go into the link in my bio, there's actually a free download where you can download actually a worksheet that takes you through how to price your products and services to ensure that you are profitable. And so I think that's a really big step, is actually knowing your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business, right? And so, and I know the finance coach will agree with this, right? And so there's so many businesses that are operating blindly. They don't actually know if the way that they're pricing their products and services is profitable. Are you counting, the material and the labor, and your time? And are you counting profit on top of that? Because once you count material, labor, and time, you're still not profitable. That's what it costs you to do it. Your time costs you. Your labor costs you. The materials cost you, right? So have you added profit on top of that? So I think that's one big, very practical step that every business owner needs to do, and actually do often reassess, right? Everything goes up in the world. Inflation happens. Every year you get a raise on your job. When's the last time your service and product prices have increased? Are your materials increasing and you're not increasing them? And it's so important, this knowing that you're being profitable in your pricing, because it is very difficult to migrate customers to another price point. Once you've given that away at that point for so long, and they've told everybody that that's how much it's cost, they've bragged on you, then you want to say, oh no, it's X amount more. People are like, well, wait a minute, Mary told me it's this much. And that's difficult. And it's difficult to also migrate the current customer. So you want to get that right from the beginning in your profitability. So that's my big practical thing I'll throw out there.
Ooh, I don't even why did I even say anything? I guess if I have to say something, I would say make sure you're adding the extra to the ordinary. If you want to be, everyone wants to be extraordinary, but no one wants to add the extra to the ordinary, and that's kind of how we get that word. So how are you going to do that? Go that extra mile that those in your lane or in your area are not doing. How are you going to make sure that, again, for me, I constantly take that information, I'm constantly studying, because it helps me build my confidence to be able to charge more. Because so people often charge what they internally feel like they're worth, right? So, that self-worth is a totally different conversation that, our people struggle with for whatever reason, right?
And females.
But yes, thank you for bringing that all. And so you would be more confident with increasing your prices or charging what you're worth. The more you put in, the more you say, listen, man, I've gone to this conference. I've done this. I've invested in my business. I've added the extra to the ordinary, and it's worth this. This is worth what I'm charging. And you're able to do that in confidence. Because outside of that, I mean, you can set it at $100, but if somebody look at you funny, you're like, you right. Inside you're gonna start, feeling kind of nervous. Like, maybe it shouldn't be $100. She just looked at me like I was crazy. Because guess what? Some people, no matter what it is not gonna want it. No matter how much you charge, you're not gonna want it. Again, I talked about having to cancel free financial events, so they didn't even want the free stuff. So making sure that you have the right audience, because you kind of don't want to just be selling to everybody. That's another thing, to make sure that, you might be selling to the wrong people. And that's okay too. That's okay too. But that's part of learning and growing. Who's your audience? Making sure that, again, you are confident, and then you're able to confidently say, listen, if you don't want it, it's okay. It's okay. This is my price. This is what it is. If you don't want it, I'm okay with that. God bless you. Hopefully we'll work together later, but it's not like you're choked up, you're up at night. What? She was probably right, So that would be the only other thing that I would add. Make sure you're getting that extra onto the ordinary. Because everybody can do the ordinary, but that's not, God didn't create you to be ordinary. So your business shouldn't be ordinary.
Right.
That's so good. That's so good. Y'all are talking good on here. Ooh. So what have been, we kind of touched on, this whole online business craze, which makes it kind of seem like business is just quick, it's easy, it's fast, all these things. But for you and your journey, what has been, some of the sacrifices that you've had to make for your business to be in this place where you're thriving now?
Ooh, well, like you said, everybody tells the good stuff. They don't tell the bad stuff. So, I got laid off. I got laid off. It was the middle of the recession. I attempted to, so housing costs were, crazy. I needed to get out of that house. I tried to short sale that house. They ended up foreclosing on that house, rejecting buyers that all came in to pay the appraised value. And eventually, like basically, because we found out later, they all got, it's a class action thing later, that they were doing that so they could write off the debt. They didn't want the short sales to happen. They wanted to write off the whole debt. So I had to deal with that with my credit. I mean, my credit just really in the past year got back to like excellent. I mean, I dealt with that for years. That was a huge sacrifice for me for years. Dealing with the foreclosure and my credit and giving up a home and living in an apartment and like, you know, all of that. I mean, my entire lifestyle changed in the beginning. I mean, I couldn't live like I lived when I made six figures when I worked for someone else. When I started my business, I just actually like a year and a half ago started paying myself, got back to paying myself what I made and more than before I started my business, that I made more working for someone else. So those are huge sacrifices. I couldn't live like I lived before. I couldn't just be like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. You know, I'm a single woman, I don't have children. People could look on the outside looking in and be like, oh, Mazda does what she wants to do. Mazda, blah, blah, blah. I mean, over the years, now I have changed this mentality. In fact, I teach it in my mentoring course, the Profit First Method, which is really amazing. I don't know if you've read that, Rachel. You, I think, would actually love it as a finance thing. But the Profit First Method of accounting in your business. But before that, there were many paychecks that I didn't take. There are many times that I cried because everybody got a paycheck in my business but me. And they didn't know all the sacrifice. I'm pulling money out of savings, the last couple dimes that I have, because I believe in integrity. And if you worked, you will get paid. I don't care if I had to take out a loan. I don't care. I mean, I did all of that. I did title loans. I mean, all of those things, lines of credit. I did all the things that people sometimes have to do early on when you don't know what you're doing. You don't have the guidance. You thought you could handle it. And that's, again, like I said, one of the reasons I started the mentoring program. So I'm like, if you guys can start with the foundation that I now have, you will be, like Rachel said, unstoppable. I'm like, thank God I didn't stop, right? But there were moments that I thought I was going to be stopped. And so I'm grateful for being able to make it through, but lots of sacrifices along the way. Not to mention the sleep, the vacation. I mean, all that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I remember my mother told me she was so happy when she said, I know that your business has grown to another place. This is the first vacation you have actually enjoyed with us. You have been on vacation with us, but you've never been here. And because you're on the laptop or you're stressed out or you're trying to run this business. I would just get on the plane and go, but they'd be at the beach and I'd be in the room or whatever. And so all those sacrifices to being in a place, you know, now where I'm grateful, and that foundation has allowed us to be able to sustain even in this difficult time of the pandemic.
Yeah, I think for me, ultimately it's time. Like Mazda said earlier, that's the only thing we're not getting back. Um, Before I would probably have said like, oh, hanging out with friends, or I sacrifice this, or now I don't look at them as sacrifices anymore. You know, if I lost a friendship or if I wasn't able to hang out, like I don't even miss those things. If I didn't go to the mall that particular day, it's now like not the end of the world. You know, it was like um I don't look at it as a sacrifice. I don't look at that as a loss. But time, yes, for sure. I look at it's a lot of time when you're, again, committed to it. It's a lot of time that you have to put in. If you're doing it the right way, you're absolutely going to sacrifice time. And it may take you a while before you even see, you know, that coming back, the return on that investment. For the time, and that's probably going to be the hardest part, because some people are going to want to see the return on that investment on those late nights and those early mornings quicker than you're probably going to see it in business when you're starting up. But when she was speaking about vacations, I was like shaking my head, because all of my vacation time was going towards traveling and teaching kids for so long at my job. I mean, if I was taking a sick day or if I was doing this, again, vacation time, it was because I was probably in somebody's school somewhere teaching about credit, teaching these kids about entrepreneurship, like all that stuff. And so I wasn't taking no vacations. But I I can't say that I missed it, because I knew that I was specifically doing what God told me to do. I was doing what God wanted me to do. And it would have been nothing greater than that, than doing what God had told me to do. So anything else outside of time. I don't look at it as a sacrifice. It's just, just me and God, we're just going back, invest in return, invest in return. We're just kind of going back and forth with this. So yeah, look forward to, getting the time up now.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. So, as we kind of wrap up, is there anything, specific that you want to relay to the Kingdom business owners? Like, is there a message that you have for them?
I would just say, no, go ahead, Rachel.
I was gonna say, just do it. Just do it already. I mean, we doing a whole lot of talking and posting statuses and having meetings and Bible studies and add me to the prayer list and all this. Child, just do it. I've learned that a lot of the energy that I put into not wanting to do something or dreading wanting to do something, I realized that actually doing it takes less time and less energy to actually do it. Um, but do it with God. Do it with God. Don't go anywhere. I don't care what the opportunity is. I've turned down so many different opportunities, checks, all types of stuff because I knew God wasn't in it. And you will be okay. Trust me. When we talk about not seeing the righteous forsaken, you will be better than okay if you turn down an opportunity or if you got to be prepared for that because there are going to be situations that are going to come and they're going to look good and they're going to sound good. But you got to make sure you take God with you everywhere you go. And make sure that you are doing it the God way, not just good, not just being good at it, you know. Make sure that you're doing it the God way, following all the way through to the end. Like I said, lead with integrity. That is going to be the thing that again is going to separate your business from other businesses, and it's going to keep you strong. During those moments when those months where the money is not flowing as much as it was previous months, and that's going to happen. But be full of faith and stay faithful. Ride with God, you'll be fine.
I agree with all of that. I would add to her, just do it. And I see a lot of people that, like you said, all of the energy get stuck in a step. I always say, don't get stuck in a step. Just because you're going along it and you're like, oh, well, I know people that are like, I was trying to write a business plan back in 1992 and then I never got I'm like, oh, seriously? Don't get stuck in a step. Do it and keep moving. Go get some help. Do it anyway. Do it full of faith. Be certain that's what you're going to do, and just go for it. And then secondly, I would say, do not make your Kingdom colleagues, do not make it incumbent upon them to push your business forward. Your business is for the world, and you will have your feelings hurt if you think the church folk is who is going to pay for, be your first clients, all of that, promote you. It is not their responsibility. It is your responsibility to create a wonderful product or service, to market yourself, and to do the work. You know them for another reason. Yes, you have supported them. You have supported other things. And it will come back to you in another way. But don't enter it with that mindset. Enter it with the mindset that you're coming out in the world. God's got your back. You're prayerful, you're faithful, and you're going to do this. You're grateful, you're humble, you're all the things. You're full of integrity, all the things that you need to be. You're staying connected to God. Keep your prayer life strong. Just like Rachel said, you will know if you should be doing a thing if your prayer life is strong. Just last week, I had something that came to me, and that thing was rumbling in my spirit. I said, I don't feel like that's the thing. And when it kind of quietly dissipated, guess who didn't run after it? Now, if my prayer life wasn't strong, and if I wasn't listening to that, I would have been like, wait a minute, I want that business. But when that dissipated, I was like, that was fine, because I didn't feel that I needed to do that thing anyway. So it quietly going away was okay, because I felt good in my soul about it, and I felt good in my spirit about it. So those are my tips, and just go with God. He's got your back.
I'm not even going to add nothing. Okay, let the church say amen. Y'all, wow, that was so good. So what's next for you guys? What do you have coming up? how can people connect with you? If you're not connected to them, hello, get connected. So how can people connect with you and just support what you have going on?
Mazda.
Okay. So I am currently taping season 2 of Restrooms and Boardrooms, the podcast that informs and inspires women that are bent on running their worlds. It's about business, entrepreneurship, leadership, culture, and life. So you can find it anywhere that their podcasts are. You can meet me on my website, MazdaMiles.com. You have links to the podcast. Please, I'm on Instagram. You see it at my name, @Mazda Miles. You'll find me. If you do that, you'll be able to download that pricing for profitability worksheet, as well as learn more about my FireStarter Mentoring Program, which again is also available to be learned at all on my website, MazdaMiles.com. So that's what I'm into. I'm starting my second cohort, just started my second cohort of Firestarters, and it is, I'm so passionate about that. So it's a joy to do. So if you are in that place in your business where you're like, either this thing is going to make me money or it's not. Either I'm going to be able to come off my job, if that's your goal. I'm going to be able to come off my job, my 9 to 5, and do this the way I want to or not, because I'm tired of spending this time. I don't know what to do next. I'm tired of reading these books. I'm tired of this Google. What does all of this mean? And I'm tired of trying to figure it out. Think about checking out FireStarter Mentoring. We get in depth, in detail. Accounting 101, building your strategic plan, rebuilding your pricing, how to deal with your customers, who's your ideal customer, and more and more and more and more. So.
Awesome. I guess you can just find me on. She said all that good stuff. You can find me on RachelHannible.com. You can book if you need a personal finance coach. You can book me until the end of the year if you're an adult, because I'm not doing adults anymore after this year is over. You can request a session at RachelHannible.com. Also for Amber's Magical Savings Box, you can find that book anywhere books are sold: Walmart, Target, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, everywhere. But if you want a signed copy for your millionaire, you can order that as well on RachelHannible.com. As far as Missing Peace Financial Group, I'm excited. Next week, we launch our free finance class for the kids in Chicago. 170 kids have signed up for our finance classes. So I'm excited to be able to just give them something to do with all this energy and everything they got going on around them there in Chicago, entrepreneurship and all that. We're going to dig in deep and really give them some things that they can do to really come out of this pandemic and come out of this situation better, and never have to go through what we're going through again when the next pandemic or the next recession hits. And so going forward, after this year is over, I'm going to really be focusing on expanding, teaching our young millionaires all the information that they need. Stay tuned. I'm going to be on your TV, teaching your kids on the YouTube and all of that. I'm telling y'all right now, I'm going to be the go-to person to teach your kids about money. Okay? Speak that. All right? So just stay tuned. I have Finance Friday parties on my Facebook page every Friday where I give out 10 free finance tips. And I've been doing that for about a year and a half now. And we have fun. We talk about money, no judgment, but information that you can use, stuff that's up to date with everything that's going on now. So make sure that you come be my friend on Facebook so you can join our Finance Friday parties. And you can follow me on Instagram at peptalks_, on Instagram.
Awesome. I absolutely love it. Y'all were amazing. I just don't even have the words to say. I really wanted to, of course, bring Kingdom business owners on to talk about this, because I think it's just something that we don't really talk about a lot. And we just kind of need that support, and we need that breakthrough to get to where it is God wants us to be in our business, not just spiritually, but economically as well. And we can do that through Kingdom Business. And so I thank you, ladies, for coming on, for sharing your stories, sharing your wisdom, your insight, all of those things. And so if you're not connected with them, please make sure that you stay connected. And also, this is just part one. Tonight was ladies' night, and tomorrow night is the men's edition. And so we'll have two amazing guys on tomorrow talking. We're continuing the conversation And we're really committed to this whole economic piece and helping our Christian business owners. I'm excited. So I'm going to do like a little pre-announcement that even this year, we're going to be giving away some micro business grants to business owners. So this is something that we're really passionate about. We want you all to be healthy economically and have a sound business foundation to be able to do that. So just make sure you stay connected with us. Stay tuned. You can go to our website, seekgodslaygoals.com. Stay connected with us. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. The podcast is coming back with new episodes in September. And there are actually going to be some snippets from the virtual summit that we just did a couple of weeks ago, which was amazing. And so thank you to everybody who participated, who supported that. It's just God is blessing this ministry, and I'm excited. And I thank you all for supporting, and just stay tuned because there is so much more. There's so much more coming down the pipeline for you guys. So if you had, nobody had any questions. Great. So stay connected. If you do have questions, just pop them in the comments, after the broadcast. I'm sure they'll, be able to answer some questions in the comments. But make sure, again, you come back tomorrow for part 2 for the men's edition of the Kingdom Business Breakthrough live stream series. It has been a pleasure, ladies. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing, and have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow night.